You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of truth. A dimension of freedom. A dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the Capitalist Corner. Capitalist Corner.
That's right, baby. Capitalist Corner, where reason meets reality. I got to say, I love that intro. Whoever did that voiceover for that intro deserves an award. I also want to thank Ashley Rizzi for helping with that, and Persephone for her help with that. Love that intro. Hope you guys are liking it too. Welcome to the Capitalist Corner. I am your host, Mark Pellegrino, also the chairman of the American Capitalist Party, along with my co-host and the vice chair of the American Capitalist Party, Michael Liebowitz, who is also the host of his own show, The Rational Egoist, which you should all be watching, and not only watching, liking, subscribing, retweeting, putting it all through social media, because these ideas of rational egoism need to take over the altruist-dominated world and create a new, I say Atlantis. We can't say Eden. That's the altruist world. We say Atlantis on Earth. Michael, what's going on with the rational egoist?
Well, actually, I'm going to have to exit here today a little bit early because I have an interview today at 1 o'clock. I'm interviewing the guy. A few weeks back, we discussed an article on accountability, blame, and cynicism. And I reached out to the author because I had interviewed him in the past. I'm interviewing him today. I'm looking forward to that. And I really recommend that everybody check out the interview that I did with Don Boudreau. It's awesome. You want to learn capitalism. You want to learn the economics of it. Check it out. It's really, really good.
Fantastic, folks. People need to learn that capitalism is the best system out there. It promotes reason. It promotes egoism. It promotes happiness and joy. How strange those things are in our modern times. Now, I wanted to talk about something different. I wanted to start off the show with something different, but you wanted to go straight to the comic Dave Smith and his liaison with Jake Shields. For those of you who don't know who Jake Shields was, he's sort of an MMA champion. He's a world-renowned jiu-jitsu guy, but a complete and total fuck-up when it comes to pretty much everything else in life, especially his point of view about, well, Nazi Germany and his point of view about Jews and Israel. And now there's a picture of Dave Smith cuddling up next to old Jake Shields. It's a very strange liaison, even though they happen to agree on Israel, because of course Dave Smith is a Jew. He likes to talk about himself as a Jew, cuddling up next to a guy who is a prominent Jew hater. Now, that's the only way I could describe Jake Shields.
Or Nazi. You could just call him a Nazi.
He's really a Nazi. I mean, he's really coming out as a Nazi. And it's really disappointing, Michael, when I see great martial artists, because this guy really knows jiu-jitsu well, coming out for perspectives that are just so degrading and awful like this. It's not a good look for a martial artist to be a pro-Nazi. Anyway, what were you going to say about this? The comic Dave Smith, whom I don't know through his comedy, by the way. I only know him as a libertarian who talks a lot of shit about the Ukraine and Israel, debates a lot of people about these things, has gotten a following through these things, but nobody has seen his comedy act. But tell me about what you think this liaison means.
Okay, so in the heading, because Jake Shields posted this picture, and what he says is Dave and I disagree on a lot of things, and in quotations he puts Hitler as one of the things that they disagree with. And I stopped following Jake Shields because it's all just Jew this, Jew that. He spreads lies about Anne Frank. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, Dave goes on his show, and he goes on Dave's show, and it brings up an interesting idea to me, and it's the idea of guilty by association, right? Because on one hand, I'm not a guy that says don't ever talk to people that you disagree with, right? I think we should. I think it behooves us to debate with people we disagree with, even if their ideas are bad, even if their ideas are immoral. But this isn't that, right? This isn't somebody debating somebody or somebody opposing somebody. They're like out with their arms around each other. I mean, not arms, one arm maybe, but either way, the point is that you're cuddling up and cozying up to a Nazi. So the first, sort of question is, well, what culpability do you have as a human being to do this? next, somebody posted a clip of Dave, who was on Joe Rogan again, where Dave is talking about how all anybody ever tells him is how he's not an expert, but they don't actually address his ideas. So I posted, what's wrong with Dave isn't that he's not an expert. It's that he gets so much wrong. And one of the reasons he gets so much wrong is because he has no moral base. So now, right before we came on the air, somebody said to me, well, are you just going to spew BS, or are you actually going to give an example? So I sent them a link to the show and told them, just join us and I'll give my examples. So 1, Dave says he grounds his ethics in self-ownership, or the NAP, the non-aggression principle. The problem is ownership in and of itself, unless you're talking about ownership assigned and determined by government, then ownership is a moral term indicating that one has a right to something, or a right to dispose of something. So in the terms of self, if you were to say self-ownership, what it would literally mean is the right of use and disposal of over one's own person. The problem is you can't start with ownership when you're talking morality. Ownership is derivative. You have to have a moral theory that backs it up. Dave doesn't have that. So what ends up happening is he can't differentiate, for instance, between Israel and Hamas. He sees them as equivalents. Now, I'm not the biggest defender of Israel, as anybody that watches this show knows. I do, however, think that generally speaking, Israel is morally superior to Hamas. So Dave gives analogy, for instance, when he talks about war. And the problem is without a theory of ethics, you have no theory of proper self-defense, no theory of retaliatory force, nothing. These are just things that he spews, that he puts out there without a moral basis to back them, right? So he gives this analogy because, when Israel goes after Hamas, civilians get killed. So Dave says, well, what if you had a robber who went and robbed your house and then he flees to his own house? You wouldn't have the right to bomb his neighborhood. Now, there's so much wrong with the analogy. First and foremost, the fact that if it was in my town and someone did that, I could just call the police because the cops in my town have jurisdiction, whereas the Israeli military has no jurisdiction.
Can I just interrupt right here? Because not only did I call him out on that analogy, Douglas Murray called him out on that analogy, and when he claims that nobody has ever answered any of his points, they've done nothing but answer his points. He just blows it off and pretends like those don't exist.
Yeah, that's another thing. So Ashley said stealing is not murder. No, it's not Ashley, but he may even have said that a murderer can't run away. So I don't want to paint it as just a matter of that. But the fact is, if you had a murderer hiding in a building, the neighbors would be calling the cops. The cops would have jurisdiction to go. So that's one thing he gets wrong. Also, the person that's went to the building isn't hiding behind people shooting you and planning further attacks. The person that is in Hamas is. Now, that doesn't mean that civilian casualties are okay. But in order to justify civilian casualties, again, you need to have a moral theory, which he doesn't have. And that's one reason why in those scenarios, he's just dead wrong and can't distinguish. Similarly, he can't distinguish between Putin and Ukraine. Again, I'm not a big defender of Ukraine. I don't know enough about Ukrainian history to really come up with a solid conclusion. I do know enough about Putin to know that he's bad and to know that he started this war and to know that he invaded it. I don't have to go after Zelensky in order to justify not giving foreign aid, because I'm opposed to foreign aid. Why? Because I'm opposed to the initiation of force as a component of the objectivist ethics. So I would say to give foreign aid, you have to initiate force against your own citizens to give the money to somebody else. But he doesn't do that. He goes after Zelensky. Finally, another area where he's dead wrong on is immigration, because he equates government property with private property. And he says, well, people that own the property, meaning he says they're generally owned citizens. So essentially it boils down to democracy, have the right to choose. What he neglects in this scenario is then, okay, but then on the private, on public roads, the majority should be able to tell you what you can say, what you can wear, what you can drive. You know, there's all kinds of things you would have to concede to the government that he wouldn't. So if he had a solid moral base, he wouldn't support those positions, and he wouldn't take a picture with a goddamn Nazi to his right. So that's
well.
What
We know that Dave Smith is morally rudderless, and I don't think that Dave has the capacity to introspect enough to change course, especially since he's made his reputation basically harping on these very issues, being on the wrong side of history, and being very proudly on the wrong side of history at this point, thinking he's won debates that he hasn't won because his crew tells him that he wins. So his little bubble of libertarian boy toys tell him, you won that debate, even though he hasn't.
Well, he said in this clip to Rogan that he'll tear apart in a debate any Warhawk. Yeah. When tearing apart just means you claim victory and all your followers, come forward and say,
and you don't address,
yes, you won.
And you don't address anything that they say. Yeah. And your arguments are based on lots of irrelevancies.
So just to address something quick, we have, I'm not going to go so far as to call him a troll, but Kirill Majidson is in the audience. I've had to block him on both my YouTube station and.
Who is this guy? Who is this?
So here's the thing. He says he's a big critic of objectivism, and he comes in and he throws things out. He shows that he really doesn't understand objectivism, and then he just keeps going. I've offered to debate him. Speaking of debates, I said I will debate you. He refuses, but he won't stop with this. So I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to leave him here for a while as long as he maintains, being respectful. But just as a heads up, if he gets a bit ridiculous, if he starts attacking, for instance, Jim Valiant like he did on my page, I will kick him out.
I wish I could. Never mind. I won't go there. We're gonna get to ethics, and maybe our scaredy cat friend will want to come on and discuss ethics. But right now, I wanted to bring up something that's disturbing me. You know why it's disturbing me, Michael? Because it's the first time in 111 years that anything like this has happened. You know where I'm going?
Does it give you the piles?
Well, yes. It disturbs me to the extent that I could have piles. Folks, that's an inside joke. Please, Persephone, don't put that on out of context, but she will. Which is great. No, Reserve Board Governor Lisa Cook has been fired by Trump. Now, this marks the first time in the entire history of the Federal Reserve that a president has done such a thing. So she's now, of course, got a lawsuit challenging this because, of course, the president has to have cause for doing it. What is the president's cause for firing Lisa Cook? Well, the Fed can't be bought by the president at this time, so he'd like to remove people and replace them with yes men so that they'll what? Lower interest rates, which will stoke the economy and make everybody think we're in a boom when we're really in a bubble. And he won't care because he may be out of office if he doesn't try to run for that third time when that bubble bursts and the economy comes crashing down on top of everybody, because lots of capital has been misallocated because of all those bad signals that the Fed was sending us through those low interest rates. What do you think of this? To me, again, the imperial presidency, and I'm not hearing a single conservative out there talking about the imperial presidency, and it's giving me piles. Michael, save me,
so
please.
I absolutely hate the Fed. I would get rid of it if it were up to me. It's probably unconstitutional. So let me just start with that. My problem is what I perceive, and it's based on an abundance of evidence, to be Trump's reason behind it, right? It's not an accident. It doesn't seem to me that the labor guy who gives Trump bad, or the labor woman that gives Trump bad news gets fired, that the Fed people who oppose his wishes get fired, that the person that criticizes him as an ex-member of his staff, John Bolton, has his house raided, right? These things don't seem accidental to me, right?
They are not.
Right. So when you take all those things, I find it very, very, very disturbing.
It's very disturbing. So he's trying to pack the Federal Reserve with yes men so that he can do what he wants with interest rates, which is scary. One of the articles you sent me, and we'll probably, I don't know if we'll have time to get to it because I only have 15 minutes before I have to travel.
Can I tell you something funny first?
Yeah, quickly, and remind me in case I forget my point. Go ahead.
Okay, only because Subby's in the audience, I want to share this. So earlier today, I often we have 5 dogs, 2 pit bulls, and I often let them go downstairs when I'm upstairs and Diana's downstairs. So today I let one of the pit bulls go downstairs. It jumped on the bed. It was so excited to see her. And then I said, okay, got to go back upstairs. When she went upstairs, Diana says, what's that? The dog pissed all over the bed.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, poor Diana. It got on her hands. Oh, but it was so funny. I laughed my ass off. She, on the other hand, didn't find it funny. But I share that because there was somebody who posted that objectivists have no sense of humor and objectivists are boring. So I want to show that we aren't boring. We, in fact, laugh at dog urine and we do get piles.
Well, maybe Khalil's boring, but I tell you, I invited that guy to come on the show. I said, hey, I'm not boring, so come on the show. So hopefully this person will take us up on it. It was a Kentucky.
Oh, he's all right. He follows me, that guy. I like that guy. No, it was River, Subby, not Haley.
So I don't have to choke Kentucky.
No. You don't choke anybody. I don't know. You don't choke anybody. Choking. We have a disclaimer here at the American Capitalist Party. We don't advocate the choking of everybody.
I also have to say I forgot to do our disclaimer from the beginning that we are not affiliated with the American Capitalist Party, folks. We are 2 capitalists talking about the news from a capitalist perspective. So when I say maybe I'd like to choke out somebody like Khalil because he thinks he's an expert on objectivism, but he doesn't have the balls to come on the show and debate either of us on it. It's just me talking, okay? I mean, yes, I will deliver on it if Khalil's interested, but it's me talking. I don't advocate for violence for anything. Now, Michael, you're going to have to remind me what I wanted to talk about because I knew you derailing me on the dog thing was going to send me in a direction that was going to
okay.
It was going to make me forget. I forgot. Do you remember
what you're?
How
do I remember? You said there's something I want to talk about, and you said remind me. You reminded yourself, and still don't remember. But it had to do with the we were talking Trump and firing the Fed in that thing.
That's it. Yes, there is an article that I don't know we're going to have time to get to today in the few minutes that I have here, where Trump actually said, according to Axios, I think this was an Axios article, I can do anything I want. I'm the president of the United States. Now, folks, for any of you objectivists out there that are still harboring the hope that this man is not a malignant narcissist, does not have dictatorial aims on this country, or that it can't happen here, guess what? It can. And what we're seeing is movements to that effect. He's pressing the boundaries and seeing how far he can go. And he's taking the territory that people are willing to give him. I mean, the legislature seems to be just capitulating to this guy. So what's so funny? What's so funny?
Well, Dangerous Loaf of Bread says you trust Axios, which is, of course, what you get every time there's a story that's negative about Trump. But fortunately, they actually have the clip of him saying it. So there's that.
Yes, he did say, I think I remember seeing that clip. So Axios is not lying there. Wait. I have to read this. Maybe should I not read something from Kirill? Should I not give him the play that he's desiring so much, or should I read what he said just now?
Well, you're saying he doesn't have the balls. No, Kirill. What I'm saying is that you've hounded me in the past with this stuff. I told you I'd be happy to debate you. You have refused. I'm not saying you don't have the balls. I don't really care about your balls one way or the other. I just prefer to have an honest debate and not to have you come on various formats that I'm on and try to troll. If you want to actually debate the principle, the point that you want, I will happily bring you either on here or on the Rational Egoist. We can get a moderator and we can have a debate about it. That's what I'd be happy to do.
Yeah, Kirill, I'm the one saying you don't have the balls. But, if you have the balls, prove it. Come on the Rational Egoist, come on this show, and we'll talk. We'll have a civil conversation if you're civil. There's a showdown on. Did you hear about the Google issue? Google wanted to take Fox and all of its affiliates off of
Yes.
YouTube, and they've been pressured now by the FCC chair Brendan Carr not to do that. Now, folks, this again is frightening. Now, we all know that the FCC was created by Roosevelt as a cudgel against political enemies. But most people think of the FCC as something that sort of regulates the airways and keeps them clean. No, we're seeing its actual uses now. We saw it with Roosevelt. We're seeing it now with President Trump. Its real purpose is to censor, which is unconstitutional, folks. The FCC, the first thing I think an American capitalist party should do, if it ever got into a position to do it, is to disband the FCC, because you are the best censor for your life, folks. You are the one who should edit the content that comes into your life. You don't need a bureaucrat to tell you what's good or what's bad. You certainly don't need a bureaucrat holding license fees over your head, holding your capacity to expand over your head, holding the power over your franchise over your head. None of that is the responsibility of government. It's yours, and that those airways are your property. And it's the people in the market that decide whether or not YouTube should let these things go, or Google, as the property owner of these elements, can decide whether or not they have these news organizations on their platform. Do you agree or disagree, Michael?
I sent you the article. I didn't even send you the article. What I did was because I didn't want to get bogged down in all the minutia. I just wanted to discuss the fact that the FCC is telling them they need to make a deal. It's absolutely absurd. The degree to which they are now, pressuring businesses, buying shares in businesses, and then talking about how that's real capitalism. It's just such bullshit, and it's really gross. But the people are going for it. And, back to the objectivists that we were talking about. A guy today posted that burning the flag equals fascism. Another guy told me, well, Donald Trump we're in a civil war right now, so Donald Trump is trying to win the war. When you have the people that are supposed to be the rational ones, supposed to be the pro-capitalist, the pro-constitutionalist, are defending this kind of garbage, it's really disheartening for me. But at least I have you, and you're not boring, and we have a lot of fun talking about important issues. But that stuff is demoralizing to me. So,
Matt Walsh, I think, tweeted a very long tweet. I only read the first paragraph or so, I'm sorry to say. Should I read it out to everybody? Because I guess it's sort of interesting. And it's
Did you see my response to him? That's what I want to know.
I looked for it, and I could not find it because you didn't give me the chance. You didn't give me the chance because you're like, we got to start the show now. We can't be late for the folks who are waiting for us. And so I could not actually locate it in the 3.5 seconds I was given to find it. But let me read.
I'll find it. Let me find it. You just keep gibbering for a second, and I'll find it.
I'm going to read Matt Walsh's, who is a very famous.
I got it. Please let me read it. Let me do this. Can I do it?
Why?
Because then I'm going to read what I wrote in response.
Okay, and then I'll read what I wrote in response. So go ahead. But I think what I wrote in response might be confusing Khalil a little bit, or Kirill or whatever his name is, which is why he came on briefly.
All right. So Matt Walsh says rights are a religious concept, a spiritual doctrine. They have no meaning outside of that framework. A godless worldview cannot account for rights. Rights in that case are just whatever the guy in power says they are. There's no higher power or inherent right to appeal to. So whenever someone talks about rights, they're making a religious claim, whether they know it or not. Our nation is founded on this explicitly religious claim, endowed by the Creator, etc. That's why it's so laughably absurd to hear people defend the right to burn the flag or make porn. Really? God endowed us with the mystical right to burn our nation's flag and have sex on camera? This is a right inherent to our very nature as human beings, the right to desecrate our national symbols and become digital whores. Had God that in mind when he made us? Did he? It's silly, but people these days use words without stopping to think about what they mean. Most of the people running around crying about their rights have never once actually considered what a right even is, or how they know they have them, or from where or whom these rights come. Now, my response.
I'm expecting brilliance. I'm expecting brilliance. So go ahead.
Well, if you let me get to it, you'll see some brilliance, but you can't interrupt all the time. Okay.
I'm expecting something amazing. I just want to tell you.
It's amazing.
Okay.
At the end of this
I don't want to be
mystical
disappointed
diatribe
at all. I don't want to be disappointed at all in the response that you're going to give, Michael.
Listen, this isn't a situation where you were taking the women out and they were disappointed and would rather have the risotto. This is the brilliant thing that I've written. Anybody in the audience who knows Seinfeld knows Mark just isn't the risotto, if you know what I'm saying. Okay. So
I promise I won't interrupt you again after this.
Okay. At the end of this mystical...
really want to interrupt you. What a dick. Okay. Go ahead. I'm kidding.
All right. Really? At 2, Gary Menard? All right. Okay. At the end of this mystical diatribe, he says people use words without knowing what those words mean. Indeed, and as the writer illustrates, people use concepts without understanding their hierarchical roots and present unproven assertions as established facts. Right is a moral concept, not a religious one. It is defined as, and has been so defined for centuries, as a moral claim or a just claim. To establish rights requires proof of an objective morality. To show that right is a religious concept, Walsh has to prove that morality requires a God. To prove an objective morality that is dependent on God, one has to prove the existence of God. Walsh does none of this. He just asserts. Thankfully, Ayn Rand has demonstrated that there is an objective morality and that rights are a consequence of that morality. I recommend her essays, The Objectivist Ethics, Causality versus Duty, and Man's Rights for anyone interested in these subjects. I'll provide links in comments, which I did.
Now, that's great. That is a fantastic response. I'm going to have to retweet that. Now, how much do you want to bet Matt Walsh does not engage that?
No, I don't think he will.
He should, but he won't. It'll go silent. Now, folks, I only have 3 minutes before I have to go because I have a car picking me up. I have to go off to Canada. Apparently, the 51st state of the United States of America, according to Donald Trump. I shouldn't have any immigration problems going over there at all, being that it's just the 51st state of the United States of America. But Michael, are you going to stay on and continue to talk about things while I leave?
I may stay on for a few minutes, but I do have to go early because, as I said at the beginning, I have this interview coming up at 1, and I would like to just be prepared. You know what I mean?
All right. So, folks, tomorrow, I don't know what tomorrow has in store for me because I don't know what the production is doing. I don't know if it's just going to be a hair and makeup thing, if there's going to be rehearsal. What time. I don't know what's so funny about that, but what time I have to be there or yet. So for me, the show is a possibility tomorrow, and I will be without microphone because I'm just taking my computer along with me.
Okay. Will you have your hair and makeup done?
It's very well. You won't be able to see my hair because I'm going to have it covered. Because if you.
But your makeup will be able to see.
No. Well, maybe some of it, depending on what they do to me. By the way, I just saw some footage. I did a thing called looping yesterday. It's called ADR, audio dialogue replacement. In this case, they wanted me to say something off camera, so I watched this whole scene from the Murdoch murders, which I just did for Hulu. And it's freaking fantastic. So I think everybody's going to love that show. And I have to say, because they dyed my hair, I'm a ginger in that. But that's because they dyed my hair. No other reason. Yes, Jason Clarke is amazing. I think he's an amazing actor. Love the man. I love the way he works. He works very much like I do in the Meisner way. That means very free and spontaneous and in the moment and improvisational. It's fun. It's playful. Even though that scene is crazy, he does it beautifully. So Jason Clarke, props to him. Australian guy who sounded like he was from the Low Country of North Carolina. It was great. Anyway, Michael, I've got to split. Folks, I hope to see you tomorrow and Friday. It's a little dependent on my schedule, but I will do my damnedest to be here. But you're in good hands anyway with Michael and probably James Valiant, who will probably kick his ass in some kind of conversation. about something that will be great for you guys to hear. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow. And Michael, I turn the conn over to you now. Do you have the conn?
I'm not a conn. I'm not conning anybody.
Do you know what that is a reference? People in the audience know what this is a reference to.
What is you hold on? You think that they would know the risotto reference, but they're going to know the conn reference?
They're going to know more about the conn reference than the risotto reference.
No way in hell. I want to know from the audience, which do you understand more of, the conn or risotto?
Not conch, Christopher Smith. It's not conch. It's not conch. 100% Persephone says, I knew Persephone would know what that is. Okay?
But she doesn't. You don't even know what she's talking about.
You are not an OG Star Trek guy. That's why you don't know it. All right, guys, I gotta go because I'm going to be late. My car is going to be waiting out there for me. So, Michael, I turn it over to you. You have the conn, even though you don't know what it is, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.
All right, awesome.
Bye.
So nobody knows what risotto is. When I reference risotto, I'm very, very disappointed in this audience. I have to say. Risotto is, of course, the reference from Seinfeld, an episode that Lisa Edelstein was in, where George was dating her and they were talking about faking orgasms. And George was now convinced that she was doing so. And he took her out for dinner and she had the risotto and was very, very excited about this risotto. So then later on they had sex and George says, was that good? And she says, well, it wasn't the risotto. So, but okay, Nicole Hingle got the reference. I would really hope that other people would get it. But if the fact that you guys aren't Seinfeld fans, it just lowers you in my estimation just a little bit. But I still love you all. She was satisfied after the risotto. Yes, Nicole Hingle, you are spot on. So is it, please give me a question. Send me a question. I'm a huge House fan, Manu. Huge. Watch it every day. I've seen every episode 3 or 4 times. Absolutely love it. I don't know how many people know this about the show House, but his character is actually based on Sherlock Holmes. Holmes and Watson, House and Wilson. You see? And the House character is very deductive in his approach. He's very smart, figures things out. Based on it 100%. He even has the same address. I think it's 241B. I believe Holmes lived at 241 Baker Street in Soda's house, but not entirely positive about the address. Eutychus says, Michael and I, it's 221B Baker Street. Yes, that's it, Lee. And that is where House lives, 221B. It's where his apartment. Yep. Robert Naser said he has watched it start to finish more than once. So what do you guys think? Are people accountable for the people that they hang around with? Are you guilty by association? I'm very, very interested to know this. Well, nobody's answering me. And I have a program to go prepare for. So I'm once again saddled with the capitalist thought of the day. So I will absolutely be happy to give it. And then I'm going to have to go. If somebody has a burning desire to ask me a question, I will answer it. Like when David Kelly talked to those libertarians. Yes, he did talk to the libertarians. He talked to them at Laissez-Faire Books. Fun fact. Laissez-Faire Books is where I bought my first copy of Atlas Shrugged. It's also where I bought my copy of Capitalism by George Reisman. It's where I bought my copy of Opar. Another very fun fact is James Valiant once worked at Laissez-Faire Books. And David Kelly did speak at the Laissez-Faire Books dinner, but there's some thought that maybe there was some other stuff going on too. I don't want to get into that. I really don't care about schisms and all that shit. I care about philosophy. So here is my capitalist thought of the day, and it has to do with ethics. If you're going to talk about individual rights, it is imperative that you understand what ethics are. You have to have a coherent theory of ethics in order to arrive at a coherent theory of rights. And rights are absolutely vital if we are going to talk about capitalism and recommend capitalism, because capitalism ultimately is the system whereby your right to life and your right to property are held up. are secured and are protected. So if you're interested in rights, you have to advocate capitalism. And then if you're interested in advocating capitalism, you have to advocate rights. And in order to both, you have to understand ethics. Megan Ribbons wants to promote her biology course. Megan, just go ahead and write it up on the screen. That's fine. Tell people where they can go, where they can find it. Megan's a friend of the show. She's very nice. I interviewed her on The Rational Egoist. Anybody can go check that out. And I'm sure you will like that. We discuss her biology course. So Megan, tell them where they can find it and what the name of it is. And once Megan does that, I'm going to go because I do have to prepare for this interview that I have coming up. It's coming up rather quickly and I want to be prepared. Well, I'm sorry, Megan. Oh, Megan says OOP. I don't know. Does that mean oops? Okay. Well, I believe, Megan, that when I go off the air, you can still post it. So please do so. And I think if you look up Megan Ribbons, you will find it. You will find her show. If not, Megan, remind me. I'll talk about it tomorrow. I'll give you a mention. Megan is absolutely great. Robert Nasard says, looking forward to talking to Dr. Megan Ribbons this Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Check that out. Robert and Megan, both are wonderful people. For now, I got to go. Remember, in the words of the great Mark Pellegrino, you don't tell him I called him great, but he is absolutely wonderful. Remember to always check your premises. Take care.